Hi everyone, welcome back to Nick's Diecast. In today's video, I'll be showing you and reviewing this 1/18 scale 2006 Dodge Challenger concept made by Maisto. I got this model from eBay for around $32 in total. I thought that was a pretty good deal considering that Maisto is no longer making this particular model. They retired this casting, I believe, in the last couple of years or so. But when Maisto was still making this particular model, they did offer it in a wide variety of colors. The orange that you see here is actually the color that the real concept car came in, so that's why I went with that color, and also because I think it looks the best out of the colors that Maisto sold the model in. The other colors that you can find the model in include a nice dark metallic blue, a kind of glossy black version, and I believe it also came in a silver as well, and it also came in purple and yellow. And there was also a police version as well that Maisto first initially released to be sold just at Sam's Club, but then a year later the model became kind of a part of Maisto's catalog and the different colors that they were selling this model in. In terms of other 1/18 scale models of the modern Dodge Challenger, Maisto and Highway 61 both made models of the concept versions. The Maisto one is going to be far cheaper than the Highway 61 version because the Highway 61 version I don't think was made for very long, and it is kind of a higher end model. It has like carpeting and various additional details that you don't see on the Maisto version. Depending on where you're buying the Maisto version, you can expect to pay somewhere between $20 and $45. I definitely wouldn't pay that much more than $45 for the model, because then you're kind of getting into more higher end like model territory, I guess we'll say. And as far as the production version of the Challenger goes, there are several 1/18 scale models of that as well. They're mainly going to be made by Solido and Highway 61. Highway 61 makes various, or made, I should say, various models and colors of the 2008 through 2012 Challengers, and Solido made various models and colors of the 2015 through 23 Dodge Challengers as well. And I believe there are a couple resin models out there in 1/18 scale of the Challenger, but they're going to be very, very pricey. They definitely count, but as far as like opening budget and semi-budget versions of the Challenger, those were all the brands that made models of this particular car. But the Maisto, I think, definitely holds up well with all of those brands that I mentioned. And if you're looking for just a model of the modern Challenger in general, I think the Maisto version is definitely one to think about. In spite of the fact that they did make the model of the concept instead of the production Challenger, the concept really did kind of kick off the modern Dodge Challenger. Dodge originally was not going to put the concept into production. They were just going to do it as, a study, an experiment sort of deal to see how would the 1970 Dodge Challenger look kind of resurrected as a 2000s modern muscle car. And that's exactly what they did. And just the overall hype and the reception of the concept was so huge that Dodge ended up putting the Challenger into production for the 2008 model year. And then they would produce the Challenger until 2023. There was a facelift in between that 15-year span. I think the main facelift was done in 2015. And then the Challenger was kind of more or less the same from that point on, with, various trim changes and color changes and additional special variations throughout the production span. So that's just a bit of a trivia right there. But Maisto, I think, did do an overall good job with this particular model. I'm going to kind of go ahead and get into the various details of the model. So in terms of the overall look and shape of this model, Maisto, I think, did a great job. The Challenger really is an iconic car, and especially when you look at like the modern muscle car movement that sort of kicked off in the 2000s. It has a very iconic look to it, and Maisto, I think, definitely nailed that with this 1/18 scale model of the concept for sure. Taking a look at the front end, Maisto, I think, did a great job with the headlights, as you see right here. They're done in separately cast plastic pieces, as you can see right here. There are pegs in the centers of the lights, but that's kind of where the bulbs would be on the real cars, so I don't really think that's a big deal. Taking a look at the center grille, Maisto did make it as a separately cast plastic piece. You can see the crosshair grille and the RT symbol right there. Now, the production version of the Challenger did have various differences from the concept, and one of them was that grille right there. The production version just had a black mesh grille that did not have the silver crosshair grille that you see here. And the Challenger inscription, instead of being back here, like you see on this concept model and on that side, they put it on the grille. And it was just a mesh grille. And they also changed the rear kind of a slight bit, where the taillight unit was actually split in 3 instead of just the single portion that you see back here for the concept. And the overall shape of the car was tweaked a slight bit as well. And the interior, of course, did see several major changes. The dash and steering wheel were kind of made to look more like the other Dodge models that were being made at that time. So that's just some more, I guess, facts right there. But back to the front end of the model, Maisto once again did a great job. You also have the second grille down here that has kind of a textured piece of plastic. The mesh you see is not perforated. Of course, if this were the real car, you would see that perforated mesh, but Maisto did it as kind of a solid piece of plastic, which is not a big deal. Then here on the hood, you will see these 2 painted on gray stripes that do say Hemi 6.1 on the sides of them, and they have kind of a unique texture to them too. On all the Challengers, you could get them with this kind of raised up hood with the stripes on it that say Hemi 6.1. They did carry that detail from the concept over to the production version. And then you also have the Dodge badge on the front of the car as well, which Maisto did a great job with. The overall paint quality on the model, I would say, is very well done. This is a metallic finish. It is kind of hard to see in certain lighting, but Maisto really did a great job kind of matching up this paint color to what the concept had. And the other paint colors that Maisto sold this model in also look very good as well. I know for sure that the purple and the blue versions both have a very kind of sparkling, deep metallic finish. I'm not sure if the yellow or silver versions are metallic and the black is a glossy finish, but again, I definitely prefer the orange over the other colors that Maisto sold the model in, just because that's the color that the concept came in. Taking a look at the side, Maisto, I think, did a good job with the wheels. You've kind of just these basic 5-spoke wheels, but I think they really do look great on the car, and Maisto did make them look accurate to what the concept car would have had. And of course, you also have full steering and suspension on the model as well. Maisto would usually include that on their models. The front wheels do bow out just a slight bit, but if you kind of tuck them like that, you don't really have that problem. As long as you kind of have the model on a hard surface like this, the wheels should kind of stay in place, I guess, is the right term there. Nice sturdy side mirrors as well, which is nice to see. You have the Challenger in silver on this side and also on the other side as well. The turn signals are just painted on. And I think Maisto honestly could have done these as separately cast plastic pieces. A lot of times for their turn signals, they will paint them on. But because these are a lot bigger, I think they probably could have, made them as separately cast plastic pieces as opposed to just painting them on. But you have to kind of cut costs some here and there, I suppose, for a budget model. So not really a big deal, but from a distance, you can really kind of see that they're painted on. And especially when you look at the model from kind of a closer view like this. But most of Maisto's turn signals on their models are painted on in the first place. So I don't really think that's a big deal. That's just something to point out there. Taking a look at the rear, Maisto did a good job with the overall look and shape back here as well. You do see the Dodge inscription in the center of this taillight unit. There are 2 obvious pegs holding this whole piece in place, so it doesn't look really that good. It kind of looks on the cheap side, but not really a big deal. They had to hold in the piece in some way, I suppose. And the exhaust pipes are done in chrome, as you see right there. Kind of on the cheap side, but Maisto usually does their exhaust systems in chrome anyway, so not really a big deal there. In terms of the opening features of the model, you do have an opening rear trunk, which opens up like so. Not really a whole lot to see back here. They don't put, carpeting or anything like that because it is a budget model. Kind of a smooth texture in there. And the trunk does not open up that wide, so it is kind of hard to see in there. But you probably wouldn't really have seen much in the real trunk in the first place. You can see part of the wheel wells there. I believe that is what you would see in the real concept car's trunk, but that's not really a whole lot to talk about in there. And then, of course, you have the opening hood. The engine detailing, I would say, is quite well done. This is the 6.1 liter Hemi that, of course, the concept did have. The engine on the production version would look a little bit less, showy compared to what the concept had. But I think Maisto did do a good job in here. That being said, the engine is just one plastic piece on the model. But this is kind of during the time where Maisto was beginning to put that engine detailing on their models that way, instead of doing like several separately cast plastic pieces and all the different wires and hoses and whatnot. They would kind of do that for at least a decade before they kind of went back to putting more detail in the engines of their models. But that also being said, I think Maisto did a good job in terms of this single plastic piece here. There is some depth to it, and there is a lot of different colors going on that you would see inside the real concept car's engine. The Hemi is written out in the orange lettering, as you see right here. And the main block, I think, is pretty well molded into that piece there. And the orange, I think, does match up decently with the orange paint that you see on the metal portion of the car. So Maisto, I think, did an okay job in that sense. And then, of course, you do have the Challenger inscription written in the front portion there, which looks pretty well done as well. And the hood does not open up that wide. I think it would have been nice if they included some kind of like a prop rod in there in case the hood ever, kind of goes bad and doesn't hold itself up anymore. You have kind of like the prop rod to keep it up with, but not really a big deal there. And of course you have the opening doors as well. They don't open up that wide. They do open up on spring-loaded hinges. And Maisto's spring-loaded hinges aren't really known for having wide opening doors. As you see right here, the doors should probably be open to almost like a 90-degree angle, like back here. But on the model, they just open up like that wide. So a little bit on the annoying side for sure, but at least they open to begin with, I suppose. The interior detailing, I would say, is actually quite well done for a Maisto model. There are several different textures of plastic in here. Like you have kind of a different texture for the dashboard compared to the seats, and then kind of a different texture for the door panels compared to the seats and the dashboard. So I think that's cool that Maisto kind of paid attention to those additional details in that sense. On the dashboard, you will see that Maisto did a decent job in terms of that detail. You see the Challenger inscription written above the glove box there. And for the center stack, all the buttons are there. They're not really all colored in most cases, but at least the overall look and shape of the buttons that you would see on the real concept vehicle are seen there, which is nice to see. Maisto, I think, did a decent job with the shape of the steering wheel and the shifter as well, and you do have that very large Dodge symbol in the center of the steering wheel, which looks good. And the gauge cluster is done as a sticker, but at least it looks accurate to what you would see in the real concept car. It is kind of hard to get a good zoom in there. There we go. That's a slightly better view, I guess, of all those dashboard details that I just talked about. And there we go back to the blurriness. Oh, well, whatever. But in terms of the seats, Maisto, I think, did an incredibly good job with those. They are the right look and shape that you would see if these were the real seats on the real concept car. They have that nice stripe going through the center that does match the color of the car. And you actually do have the separately cast seat belts on the seats as well. And the seats do have a nice texture to them, almost like the leather that you would be seeing on the real concept car. So Maisto, I think, definitely did an incredibly good job with the seats. This model was kind of made during the time where Maisto was still paying a lot of attention to the details of their models, but we're kind of cheaping out just a slight bit. And you kind of saw that with the engine being one single plastic piece and some of the buttons not being very well detailed on the dashboard here. But some of their amazing qualities still remain, such as these seats. So that's very cool to see that. Then, of course, the door panels, I kind of forgot to talk about those. They're decently done. There really is not a whole lot to see aside from the different silver and black components, I guess, that you would see on the real door panels of the real concept. And you do have the little speakers down there as well. So I think Maisto did do a good job in that sense, for sure. You can kind of get a better look at the seats from here. And there are actually two different textures on the seats as well. For the inserts, I guess we'll call them, they have a different kind of perforated looking texture to what you would see for the rest of the seats, which are done in kind of a leather-like texture. So yeah, the real seats would have the perforated leather for the inserts, and then would have, I guess, the regular leather for the rest of the seats. I don't know what the right term is for that, but Maisto did a really good job with the seats, is the point that I'm trying to make, especially for a budget grade model. Now, the undercarriage of the model does have some detailing, but the exhaust system is done entirely in chrome, as you see right there. But that's kind of typical for a Maisto model. So that's pretty much all to talk about for down there. So I think for a budget model of the concept version of the Challenger, Maisto, I think, did a great job with the overall quality and details of this particular model. And I think it definitely holds up well with the other 1/18 scale models of the 2008 through 23 Challenger that have been made over the past 15 plus years. The concept is pretty much what started the modern Challenger's life. So I think that by itself definitely makes models of the concept worth looking at, and especially the 1/18 scale version that you see here. So although some details definitely could have been tweaked a bit and certainly improved on, Maisto, I think, did do a good overall job with the model of the 2006 Dodge Challenger concept for sure. So if you're a fan of the modern Challenger, or just of muscle cars in general, I think this model from Maisto would definitely be a good model to get for your collection of 1/18 scale cars. So feel free to comment down below with your thoughts on the model. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.